Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream. If you don't know what this is about, this is essentially about money. My goal is to teach you how to think and how to approach what you see happening in the news and what's happening with yourself financially so that you're able to stack cash, stash cash, and you can ride one economic boom from the next. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Tara. I am a digital nomad. I am currently in Vietnam. I have a degree in business and international economics. I love history. I love current events. I love economics and I love business. And what I'd like to do is explain it to people in the most simplified fashion so that you can start approaching how you earn money in a more lucrative, prosperous way by emulating the actions of rich, powerful people. The problem is that we have generational poverty, and with generational poverty, for some reason, there's a certain behavior and a thought pattern that occurs that helps continue the cycle of financial suffering. So by watching me, my goal is to take you from broke money to new money to more money by helping you understand behind the scenes what is essentially happening in the world, globally and domestically. Everything I pretty much say is going to impact everyone in the world. So let's sit back, let's enjoy. My live stream is educational, it is informational, it is not entertainment. If you are perceived to be wasting my time and or distracting me, you will be muted and or blocked because I don't have the time to entertain bull. This live stream is about money. Keep your religious, your political, and your racial preferences at the door because this is about cold, hard cash. If you're vibing with me, great. Tap the screen, give me hearts. If you don't understand what I'm saying, try to endure it, try to educate yourself, or scroll. Do not worry about the trolls. I have a moderator. My moderator plans what I discuss, and my moderator will handle my audience in accordance. If you have a value-adding question, please ask it. If you have a value-adding comment, please say it. Keep your hearts, keep your roses to yourself because you will get blocked and or muted because you're not focused, okay? This is about money. Money, 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 money. And I take complicated topics and I explain it to you from my point of view as far as what it means. Are we clear? I do not engage in any BS. Stop sending me messages about the fact that you got muted. You take initiative to send me a message about you getting muted, but you do not take action to stack money. Stop wasting my damn time. Let's start getting this cash and let's start focusing on what's important. I don't give a damn about your feelings. I care about your wallet. Listen to me. I don't give a damn about your feelings. I care about your wallet. So if you're not talking to me about money, money, how to get that money, be quiet. Okay? Be quiet. Listen. Very cool? Cool. Now let's get started. Trump plans to impose 25% tariffs on all imported vehicles. Now, what's an imported vehicle? An imported vehicle is something that comes across the border into the US. Now, why is this important? Let me tell you why. If you like luxury cars like me, and let's say that luxury car costs $100,000, with a 25% tariff, that $100,000 car becomes a $125,000 car. Now, this must be astounding and mind-blowing for some of you, but you must understand the mid and long-term gain. The U.S. has a long history of getting shafted by economic and trade deals until today, until now. And one last thing, everyone, if you're in my live stream, I just need you to tap the screen, give me hearts. That lets me know you're here. That lets me know you understand. That lets me know we're vibing. And that lets the TikTok algorithm know that I'm adding value so I can help as many people as possible. So I just need you to focus. I need you to tap the screen and let's get this bank. Now, Trump putting tariffs. On the surface, it pinches, it bites, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you, it bites. But you must understand when you have allies, economic allies and trade partners who refuses to deal with the U.S. in an equitable manner, and they have become entitled, they have become privileged as far as benefiting from us, they start having tantrums like a 2-year-old baby. So you have Canada, you have the EU, you have Russia, not Russia, you have China, you have all these countries who are feeling salty. They're feeling some type of way about the US. They have forgotten how much they have economically benefited from relationship with the US. And now that they've stacked bank, now that they have developed, now that they had some type of footprint on the global market, they're now trying to exert pressure back onto the US when they know they are wrong. You see, that's when you have to realize at some level, even as human beings, when you enable someone, if you give crutches to someone, they may try to bite the hand that feeds them. So now Trump is trying to come back to the table saying, look, China, EU, Canada, we need to do better. We can do better. We need to do better. And instead of them trying to do better, they want us to continue to perform the role of enabling them economically, and it's not necessary. It is not necessary because they have the money, they have the economic growth to be able to support them themselves without penalizing or being a detriment to the U.S. economy. So Trump giving tariffs is to let them know, look, our economy is capitalism. Hello, coma. The U.S. economy is capitalism. Capitalism is based off of consumers. Consumers buy. U.S., we like to indulge in our goods. So we buy things from all over the world. So when you have countries trying to flex on us, knowing that hello, New Hampshire, when we are heavily consumer based, it's not a wise idea. It's not a wise idea to try to flex back on the U.S. when we have the most consumer-dominated economy, which means we make other nations rich, but they also make us rich, okay? It's a two-way street. So Trump is basically saying he's going to impose 25% tariffs on all vehicles. Trump says for years, we have been ripped. Okay, this is what he said. Trump said for years, we have been ripped off virtually by every country in the world. Now, I have to fix that. We haven't been ripped off. We allowed ourselves to be ripped off. I want to be clear. The U.S. is not a victim. We signed those deals with these other countries that basically was a disadvantage for us. So the other countries didn't rip us off. We put ourselves in a position to be economically ripped off because it served our interests at that point in time. Now that times have changed, we're no longer getting shafted by the deals that we made in the past. And we have a lot of power players who have an issue with our new face. So Trump is playing hardball because he is a business owner and that is what he does. Now, these tariffs are supposed to equalize our nation's, it's supposed to equalize a number of our industries. It's supposed to bring us back to where we belong, and it's supposed to give us an equal playing field. Now, what you must understand is this. If you go back in history, there has been a lot of hostile interactions that the world has had. And the U.S. has come in and helped with peace. It's helped with stabilization. Hello, North Carolina. And it's helped with reconstruction. The reason why the U.S. allowed, thank you for the gift. The reason why the U.S. allowed itself to be, I like to call it a sugar daddy. The U.S. allowed itself to be a sugar daddy to a lot of other countries is because we were getting strategic placement on the globe. We were getting intel. We were getting access to resources. It benefited us to financially make deals that, hello, Illinois, that allowed other countries to win. Now that these countries have got their footing, it's time to come back to the table and renegotiate the deal. That's how business works. You cannot keep feeding from the trough until you get like a fat cat. You have to be able to understand that at some point, the person that fed you, the person that set you up is also going to come back and say, it's now time for you to scratch my back too. So that is what's happening with these tariffs. He wants our industry, car industries, to be able to compete. He wants our market, looking at you, he wants our markets to be, he wants us to play fair now. Okay, it's enough with the handouts. It's enough with the welfare. It's enough with the excuses. If they got the money to band together against the U.S., then they must have enough good judgment to realize we made our money because of the consumer-based economy of the United States, because of the amount of spending that we like to do. So when you have countries like Canada and the EU and China trying to band together, I'm saying short term, you gain, you may win. Long term, that's not the best move. Because if you paid attention to what Trump is doing, let me tell you what Trump is doing. Trump is making alliances with the Middle East. While the West is trying to figure out, while the East, Europe, China, Canada is trying to get back at us, Trump is focused on the future. He's getting investments from the Middle East, billions, trillions of dollars. So while Canada and the EU and China are fighting with us, Trump is securing bank. Good night, Roy. He's securing bank from other places because he anticipates the hostility. He anticipates the hostile retaliation from countries that have financially benefited from us. That's the best you got, Miss MAGA. That's the best you got, Miss MAGA. Come on now. If you want to insult me, you have to dig a little deeper. Come on now. Miss MAGA, that's all you got? Guess what? That's broke money. That's broke money typing. I want y'all to pay attention to broke money, because when a person cannot focus on facts and cash, and you get nipple sensitive, when you get sensitive with your nipples, and then you have to insult, that means I touched a nerve. And instead of you having some good sense and listen to what I'm saying, because I'm trying to educate you from broke money to new money, and I'm trying to help you understand how this world works and how money moves, you want to call me MAGA. I take that as a compliment. Money, 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 money. Oh my gosh, the foolishness is real, okay? So I want you to understand, it's going to drive all car prices up. It's even going to impact U.S. car manufacturers who are importing vehicles into the U.S. Everyone who's importing cars into the U.S. is going to be impacted, including U.S. manufacturers. Now you're saying, why would Trump put tariffs on U.S. car manufacturers? Well, they're being produced in countries like Canada and Mexico. Canada, Mexico, Taiwan, they are actually benefiting from manufacturing of U.S. cars, because that creates jobs. So having a global economy, you must realize that we're all interconnected. And when we're all interconnected, we suffer together or we thrive together. So the point is this is about money. This is about money. And the U.S. is economically in a precarious situation right now because of printing money, because of funding wars, because of paying for goods and paying for services, or paying for funding nonprofits that doesn't exist. So there's a whole line of things that have come together in a perfect storm to impact the U.S. financially. And Trump has a short deadline to fix our economic status, our economic situations before it's too late. Now, I want you to understand something. By the end of my live stream, I am going to illustrate to all of you that even though there is a recession, there is an economic boom happening. So my live stream is just not to give commentary about the news. My live stream is to teach you how to ride economic booms, one boom to the next. That is how you stack cash. That is how you win. I give you these news stories to help educate you and see the world in a different light, so that you can emulate behaviors and decisions that help people go from rags to riches, or rich people stay rich. This is the purpose of my live stream. It's to point you in the direction of prosperity and to ensure that you know how to ride an economic boom from one to the next. In my world, there's no such thing as a recession. Now, for some of you, a recession is real. In my world, a recession does not exist, because I know where the money is and I follow the money. I follow the money. And Brandon, guess what, baby? Brandon, goodbye. Bye-bye, Brandon. What'd I tell you? I told you coming here with some BS, you're going to get banned. Now next, what is this? BlackRock. BlackRock Incorporated. Now, if you don't know what BlackRock is, it is a multinational U.S. investment company. BlackRock Incorporated is a multinational U.S. investment company. Now, BlackRock is suggesting that people invest in China and Japan as alternatives for investment. I want y'all to think about what I just said. A US-based company, multinational, is telling other people not to put your money in Japan and China. Now, I don't have a problem with that per se, but here's the issue. The U.S. economy is heavily in debt. The U.S. economy is tinkering, on the lines of bankruptcy of some form. You have an investment firm that's a part of the United States suggesting that people put their money in Japan and China. Now, if you had some good sense, you would realize that the U.S. is battling with China all because we want equitable trade deals. But when you tell people to pull their money out of the U.S. as a U.S.-based firm and to put it in another nation while you're neglecting your own company, it's very suspicious. I'm telling you what I think is suspicious. See, to me, I think somebody's getting their back pocket lined. I think people are getting their back pocket lined with money. Because it doesn't make any sense to me while a U.S.-based firm would suggest that U.S. people pull their money out and invest in a country that we're having trade wars with unless you're getting paid. Okay, that's just my opinion. Because I told you at the end of the day, it's about money. It's about money. Nobody puts their brand, their goodwill, their company on stage to tell someone this news unless you got paid. Now, here's a little bit of history for you. This company, BlackRock, is telling people to pull their money out of the U.S. and put it into Japan and China. Now, let me tell you a little bit about history. Before World War II, there was a depression. Now, Japan, if you don't know about Japan, Japan has to import a lot of goods for the survival and the thriving of their citizens, okay? Japan was not able to trade and they were not able to import goods right before World War II. So Japan actually, they decided to join, the Axis powers? They joined the Axis powers because they were not getting food. They were not able to import. Japan has been able to build wealth because of countries like the U.S., China, of course, that are importing our excess goods and services to Japan. If people pull money out of the U.S. and put it into Japan, that is a bad strategic move. Let me tell you why. I just told you about history. The U.S. cut off supplying Japan with our excess goods. And when we stopped supplying Japan with our excess goods, the citizens of Japan started to suffer heavily. So when you tell people to take money out of the U.S. and pour it into Japan, you're actually setting up Japan. Because if the U.S. gets angry and we decide to cut off trade relationships with Japan, this is a cycle of history repeating itself. So when you have a company like BlackRock saying, hey, put your money into Japan, if I was Japan, I would say, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's why you must look at the bigger picture. You cannot solely look at short-term gains. Pulling money out of the U.S., putting it into Japan, puts Japan in a very precarious situation with the United States of America. I want to be clear. We're dealing with countries, but countries are made up of human beings, and human beings are petty. Even government officials are petty. So if Japan starts receiving investment dollars that should have been in the US is going to flex. I want to be clear. Now, this is my opinion from what I can see. But if money is leaving the US and going to Japan because a company like BlackRock Incorporated are saying that's where the money's at, bad move. Bad move. Bad move. Don't listen to BlackRock. Do not listen to BlackRock. Let me tell you what's happening with BlackRock. BlackRock is losing their shirts, they're losing their shorts, and they're losing their shoes. How the stock market works is as follows. The stock market is a direct reflection of the economy in the US. If the economy in the US is growing, it's booming, the stock market is growing and booming. If the US economy is shrinking, the stock market is supposed to shrink. Now, these greedy sons of bitches, that's what I'm going to say, these greedy motherfuckers have gotten accustomed to bank that doesn't make sense. They've gotten so comfortable and so lazy on Wall Street that they're just used to money pouring into their lap and the US government just printing money and they don't have to work. So now that Trump is placing tariffs around the board, the stock market does not know how to act. On one hand, they're creating an economic bubble on the stock market because they refuse to do their damn job, which is to analyze the markets, use their education, and to earn money. So what are they doing? They want easy money. Wall Street has become accustomed to easy money instead of using their goddamn financial degrees to work for the money like the rest of us. So now you have companies like BlackRock telling the rest of the world, hey, take your money out of the US and put it into Japan. Don't listen to these people. Don't listen to these people. There will be economic ramifications for their advice. Okay? Now they may be running out of the US and they may be putting their money in foreign investments. But let me tell you something about global trade. When you have global trade, that means you can't run that far. They're telling you to put your money into Japan and China. And if this is a global economy, if the US is struggling, Japan and China is going to struggle. Do you understand? So listen, this company, BlackRock, is telling you to put your money in Japan and China. If the US suffers, China and Japan suffers. So this is how you know that people are lying, because the economic factors do not make sense. We are in a global economy. We buy each other's goods and services. That is how we prosper. So if you think you're going to jump from the North American continent all the way over to Asia and you are protected, you are not smart. You are not smart.
Everything's connected.
Everything is connected. I'm talking to BlackRock. You're lying. You're lying. You're duping people. You're getting money in your back pocket and you're telling people information that is a damn lie. Now, why am I talking to you guys about this? I am talking to you because I want you to realize power struggles create money shifts. Relationships create money shifts. So when you have a company like BlackRock saying, take it to Japan, take it to China, they are trying to make the US recession, thank you for the gift, worse. They are actually working in unison to crush the US economy. Hold on, I lost y'all. Part of the US economy is based upon spending, but it's also based upon investment, domestic investment and foreign investment. And when you have a US multinational company like BlackRock telling people to pull their domestic and foreign investment out of the US, they are working behind the scenes to crush the US economy, all because Trump won't play their bitch ass games. Now, I know it's a little complicated, but you have to understand, what is their motivation? What is their motivation? Why would BlackRock come onto the news and publicly tell people to pull their money out of the US and put it? What happens when people stop spending? That's a depression, sweetheart. That's a depression. If people stop spending and people stop investing, it creates an implosion and economic explosion. So BlackRock is working behind the scenes to put downward pressure on the US economy in hopes that Trump comes to the table and bends over like a bitch and gives these people what they want. And I'm sorry, I speak really directly. I get excited over business. You're going to have to forgive me, okay? I get excited about business. I get excited about money, and I speak really directly. So you're going to have to forgive me for my directness, okay? It is not good. It is not good. It is not good. So to me, I consider that some version of treason, but that's just my opinion. I want to be clear. That's just my opinion. I don't know if it's true, but what I'm telling you is that money moves. And if you want to get answers, you must follow the money. You got to follow the money because that's how you earn money. Now, I'm not suggesting you follow BlackRock because the fundamentals with BlackRock doesn't make sense, okay? They're telling investors to look abroad. They're telling people to buy international stocks, and they are telling people to push past U.S. stocks. They're telling investors to look over U.S. stocks and to go abroad. They're basically saying that U.S. exceptionalism is down. What do you mean U.S. exceptionalism is down? Saudi Arabia just committed to investing $1 trillion. The UAE has just committed to investing money in the U.S. What is it, Taiwan? Taiwan has committed to investing in U.S. So you have a company like BlackRock trying to say that U.S. exceptionalism is down. No, you're on some bullshit. You're lying. Because there's no way companies would invest hundreds of billions, hundreds of millions, and trillions of dollars into the U.S. unless the exceptionalism is there. It's because of U.S.'s exceptionalism that has produced the digital wave. What is the digital wave? Well, you have AI, you have cell phones, you have quantum computing, you have chips, you have automations, you have robotics. So this is how people lie to you. This is how they lie to you. You cannot have an economic boom unless there was some exceptionalism happening. Do you understand? There is an economic boom that's happening with AI, chips, quantum computing, algorithms, automations. So how do you have an economic boom and people are pouring billions, trillions of dollars into this, and these fools at BlackRock are telling you, no, no, no. BlackRock's getting paid off. Real talk. I don't know how. I'm telling you, money is going under the table and to their back pockets. No U.S. company says things like this unless they're getting money behind the scenes. That's real talk. And at the end of the day, let me tell you what they're trying to achieve. They are trying to cripple the U.S. economy even more so that Trump goes back to the table and gives these people whatever they want. And when you give them whatever they want, let me tell you what happens. You have a recession/depression. The U.S. citizens suffer and world citizens suffer. If the U.S. economy collapses, the world economy collapses. So the fact that this company is suggesting such activity, you must understand there is a ploy, there is a plot, there is a lie, and the world will suffer because of this greed, because of greed. Okay? Very cool. Next topic. All right, next topic. If you guys do not know this, thank you for the gift. Welcome to my live stream. To me, business is made up of history and opportunity. I want to repeat. To me, from my point of view, business is made up of history and opportunity. Now, with history, you normally hear about it from a victim and a victor type of point of view. When we're taught history, you're told it from the victim and a victor type of point of view. When we're taught history, you're told it from the perspective of suffering and destruction and, civilizations being wiped out. But no. If you really analyze history, history is being made when you have pioneers, you have trailblazers who are looking for opportunity. Now, because of them seeking opportunity, it creates a ripple effect of good factors and bad factors. But from my point of view, every time you look at history, you must understand it was for money. It was for freedom. It was for opportunity. Now, what is opportunity? Opportunity is risk and reward. The reason why some people, they're able to go from rags to riches or riches to more riches is that they understand how to objectively evaluate risk and reward. The problem is that when you have an employee mindset, You have been conditioned to think being a slave employee is safe. No, when you give away your financial prosperity and you put it in the hands of someone else called your employer, you're essentially a modern day slave who happens to have benefits and an income. But at any point in time, you can walk into that job and that job can cease to exist. So when you, as an employee, think of risk and reward, you actually have a skewed mindset. I call it denial and delusion. When you work for someone else and you do not have the skills or the confidence to be able to earn money on your own without an employer, you are exposed. I want to be clear. You're financially exposed. How do you know? Because when there's a recession, you see the proof of it. When a recession happens, you see the full true price of being an employee. It's only when the economy is growing and booming that you think that you're thriving as an employee. No, because if you were actually winning as an employee, it wouldn't matter if there was a recession, a depression, or a boom, because you would have the skill sets and the mindset to be able to earn money under any circumstances. Are you with me? Thank you for the gift. This is critical for you to understand before I go forward in my live stream, right? You must have an entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm even talking more of a side hustle. If your side hustle is earning you commissions and small dollars, I call it chump change. Chump change is not a side hustle. When you have to exert more time and more energy and the money is not multiplied above and beyond what you're exerting, that's not a side hustle. I want to repeat. If you exert this amount of energy and you get this amount of money, that's not a side hustle. A side hustle is when you exert this amount of energy, this amount of investment, and you get this much. You see that? That's a real hustle. And that's why I just talked about risk and reward, because there are hidden costs and sunken costs that are tied to some of these fake ass side hustles that they tell you about. A real side hustle gets you 100% of the money you earn with very little energy and very little time, but I'll get back to that later. So the purpose I want you to understand is you have to be able to really evaluate risk and reward. And part of the risk includes hidden costs and sunken costs that you have not put a price tag on. You spend more time on things and you do not get paid for that time. For example, you sit in traffic for 2 to 4 hours to go to a job. Now you get paid for 8 hours at a job, but no one's paying you the 2 to 4 hours that you're sitting in traffic. That is called hidden costs. Because if you were getting paid for that time you were sitting in traffic, you would actually be getting ahead. Are you with me? So there's things that you do not know that you are exerting time, energy, money, and effort that you're not getting paid for. And that's why you cannot win in this employee game, because there are risks that you don't see that are playing a part to why you're living paycheck to paycheck. Welcome to my live stream. Now, Trump is getting close and personal with the Middle East. Now, on one hand, you would say, why? How? I'm going to tell you how, why and how. Because the Middle East, thank you, the Middle East is willing to come to the table with money, money, cash, 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 money, money. Money, money, cash, cash, money, money, cash, cash. Unlike Canada, the EU, who wants us to come to the table with our wallet, the Middle East is coming to the table with cash, stacks of cash for the U.S. Now, anyone who's in business, you understand. When you have a willing, ready, and able ally participant who's coming with money, money talks. Bullshit gets tariffs. Money talks. Bullshit gets tariffs. Do you understand? Do you understand? You must understand that. The saying is, money talks, bullshit walks. So the Middle East is coming to the table with money. Investing in the U.S. because there are perks. There are perks to investing. You are investing. They know what they're getting in return. They see the value of having an economic relationship with the US. You want to know why? Look at what happened to the economies of China and Japan and the EU because of the US. So the Middle East says, these countries have been closely aligned with the US, and they have economically benefited from defense weapons, from trade deals, the list goes on. So the Middle East is smart. They're saying, if I do business with this country, I can actually build my prosperity and wealth. So unlike everyone else who's acting like bitch babies, the Middle East is coming up with millions, billions, and trillions of dollars to the table. Now, let me tell you what just happened. Trump strengthens ties with the Middle East with a $2 billion drone sale. Now, if you don't know the power of a drone, I want you to see what Israel is able to do in the Middle East. Israel has something called the Iron Dome. Israel is a very small country. It is exposed on all sides, yet this country is able to protect itself. Has anyone wondered how can us put religious, put political, put all that to the side? Let's just focus on this, okay? Have you ever wondered how a country with a very small population who's surrounded on all sides, how they're able to defend themselves? It's called drones, baby. It's called technology. So anyone like BlackRock says that the U.S. is no longer exceptional, you're a liar. Okay, you're a liar, because let me tell you why. Because of working with the U.S., Israel has the technology to create an iron dome and protect themselves. Why is this important? Because there's a $2 billion drone sale that just happened with the Middle East. Now, what does that mean? It means someone from the Middle East, Qatar, has just approved the sale, $2 billion for defense relations with the U.S. That's money, baby. That's an economic boom. When you have someone investing billions of dollars in the purchasing of defense, that's a microeconomic boom. So while the EU and Canada or China are sitting at the table of salty, the Middle East is coming to buy defense weapons from the U.S. Now, Canada canceled their defense contract with the U.S. Canada canceled their contract with the U.S. But the U.S. just replaced Canada with Qatar. The U.S. just replaced Canada with Saudi Arabia. This is how you know people are not thinking clearly. You have other people with the cash, not credit, cash, that are coming in buying what our partners, allies were supposed to buy. This is money, baby. This is money. When someone doesn't realize what they're getting at the table, you always have someone else who's ready to swoop in. It's like it's like you having a woman and you're not taking care of your woman, and another man comes in and swoops up your woman and swoops her up on your feet. When you are asleep and you're slacking, someone else comes in and takes the prize. So you now have Saudi Arabia, you have Qatar, who's coming in, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ka-ka-ka-ching. Money moves. So when you have Qatar getting ready to spend $2 billion, that's money flow. That's money flow. So our relationships are deteriorating in Europe, and our relationships are strengthening in the Middle East. Money moves. The problem is that they got you focused on tariffs. They got you focused on Mexico. They got you focused on Canada. They got you focused on things where money is going broke. There is money and deals being made at the same time as money's going down the toilet and money's falling from the sky. Money's going down the toilet, money's falling from the sky. And that is what I want you to be able to understand and see, that there's always deals, money deals being made. You just have to take a step back and you have to really see the landscape. Money does not disappear. Money moves. And if money is not coming to you, you are standing on the wrong place on the money board. Real talk. And because of poor timing, because of a lack of investment and because of a lack of knowledge and skill sets, you are not able to plug in to a booming industry that is happening right before your face. Now, Qatar has invested $8 billion in its airbase to support U.S. Central Command. Listen to me. The U.S. State Department has approved a sale with Qatar, increasing our defense relations with them. Qatar has invested $8 billion in its airbase to support U.S. Central Command. So the Middle East is willing to put money on the table to secure the economic interests of the U.S. That is called a real ally. That's called a real ally. They're coming to the table with something of value that benefits the U.S. instead of having their hand out, okay? Overall, the sale supports U.S. investments in the Middle East, and Qatar serves as a bridge. This is what it means to have real trade partnerships. I don't know what you're talking about, DN or CN, but I'm going to say goodbye to you right now. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I will tell you goodbye. There's money everywhere. There's, of course, there's money. Canada's buying weapons from the EU. Don't need EU. How is Canada buying weapons from the EU and the EU gets defended by the US? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. The EU can't even defend itself. The EU can't even come with money. The EU cannot even come up with money to pay their NATO bill. The EU can't come up with the money to end the war in Ukraine, and they can't come up with the money to pay their portion of the defense in the NATO bill. So Canada's buying weapons from the EU? The EU gets defended by the US, bruh. Come on now. Get your facts straight. Make it make sense. How is Canada going to buy weapons from the EU and the EU gets protected by Big Brother? The EU is going to buy the weapons from the US and then they're going to rebrand them and sell them to Canada. That is what is going to happen. The EU is going to buy it from the US and then they're going to take the branding off and they're going to put the EU and they're going to sell it to Canada. That is what's going to happen. Because if the EU had it, they wouldn't be relying on the US. If the EU had the defense investments and they've been defending their own borders, they wouldn't be relying on the US. So if you're going to talk to me, you're going to talk to me, you got to think it through. Think it through. They got some though, but you must understand, if they had it all, why is the US coming to protect them? They got some, but they don't have enough. Because if they had it, why are they scrambling to find the money to pay their portion of the NATO bill? Why are they not coughing up enough money to secure peace between Russia and Ukraine? You have Britain who's willing to support peace after the war ended. They don't make sense. They don't make sense. And I mean no disrespect. I base it off of actions. It doesn't make sense. Now, here's the last story, and then I'm going to bring it home, all right? I got two last stories. You have China and the EU working to go against the US for protectionism. What does that mean? China is approaching the EU, and they're saying, let's band together to come up with tariff protectionism policies so that we have more leverage and more power against the United States, okay? They want to work together to force Trump to come to the table and give them what they want. This is going to go from bad to worse. I want to repeat, China and the EU coming together to band together to create tariffs against the US is going to go from bad to worse. This is bad decision making happening right before your eyes. Anyone who has kids and you have a 2-year-old who has lost their mind in public, all because you won't give them a piece of candy, that's the equivalent of this. It's not going to go well. If they think they're going to cause Trump to bend over and to give them what they want, it's not going to work. Who is it bad for? Well, overall, it's bad for everyone, TikTok. It's bad for everyone, but short term, it's not going to benefit them the way they think. It's not going to benefit them the way they think. Because It is not. He is about to put you and I in a recession. Boss man, we're already in a recession, baby. But if you're watching my live stream, I told you a recession doesn't mean anything. If you're watching my live stream, I already told you a recession doesn't mean anything because there's an economic boom happening. There's an economic boom that's happening. And if you're able to earn money, a recession doesn't exist for you. I think that's an error, a flaw in thinking. People seem to think that just because a recession is happening, that it happens for everyone. If you go back to history and you go back to the Great Depression, the entertainment industry, the auto repair industry was actually making money even during the Great Depression. So for some of you, yeah, he's putting you in a recession. But you don't have to stay in a recession. You have a choice. Hold on, I want you to hear me. When you work for other people, you suffer a recession. But if you ride the economic boom and you follow the flow of money, a recession doesn't hit you. That is not the right mentality to have, especially if you're watching me. You can't check me. You can't check me. Because let me tell you why. I told you at the beginning of my live stream, there was a recession and there's an economic boom happening. I also told you that the goal is to take you from the recession side to the money side. So it doesn't matter what Trump does. If you know how to earn money, I told you at my live stream, you got to focus. I told you got to focus. That is fear and scarcity mentality. Everything in life is about give and take. It's about yes and no. It's about on and off. Macro controls everything. Okay, TikTok. TikTok, you don't have to agree with me. Everything works in unison. And let me explain to you why. Even though we have a recession, people are still buying cell phones. Even though we have a recession, money is still being invested in AI and quantum computing. Even though we have a recession, you have countries and companies pouring hundreds of millions and billions of dollars into robotics. So what are you talking about? On a collective? Yes. But the purpose of my live stream is not to teach you what you're talking about. I'm trying to teach you how to go to the money side. Are we clear? There is money being made. There's always money being made. And I'm going to stand on that. So China and the U.S. trying to come up with protectionism against the U.S., I'm going to tell you that's going to go really badly. Now, what's going to happen? Guess what? Wait to be seen. But I'm telling you from what I see, this is not going to play out very well. Very well. This is my last thing, and I'm going to tell you where the money is, okay? And if you haven't paying attention, it's in the digital economic boom. It's in the digital wave. And I'm going to tell you how this makes sense for you. One last thing. The Magnificent Seven. Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Meta, Apple, Alphabet, Tesla are dragging Wall Street down. Okay? These heavy hitters are bringing Wall Street down. Now, that's not a bad thing because the markets are cooling off. Anyone who pays attention to economic cycles, you know we have periods of hot, we have periods of cold, we have periods of expansion, we have periods of shrinking. It's a natural cycle. It's no different than you breathing or you having a heartbeat. It's no different than the sun rising, the sun setting, or we going from new moon to full moon. This is a part. Business operates just like nature. Business operates just like nature. Now you have people on Wall Street who try to interfere with it, but a market has to cool down. It heats up, it cools down. That is how it works. Now, prices rose too quickly. Where do I start? KP, all you got to do is go to my profile. My website's there. Let me finish this up. Prices rose too quickly on AI, okay? Political anger is also causing Tesla stock to drop. Consumer confidence is going down, all right? So listen, what is happening is that because AI and all these stocks kind of shot up to the moon, they are now getting some form of a reality check. That is not because AI is going away. That is not because digital technologies are going away. It's because the hype that were created by these fake ass investors, they cause stocks to go beyond where they were supposed to be. Now, what's happening is that people are having fears. They're thinking that if they pull their money out, that's going to save them. That's not how this works. You have to be able to have a big point of view. There are industries, there are technologies that are becoming obsolete. They are being replaced by humanoids. They are being replaced by AI. They are being replaced by quantum computing algorithms. You must understand this digital technology, digital innovation is not going away. That's like saying the automobile, the car was going to go away. No, when the car replaced the horse, a lot of people thought that the car was not sustainable. Guess where we are now? So I'm here to tell you, cell phones, digital money, the digital age is not going anywhere. Why? Because humanoids and robotics and quantum computing and AI, it increases efficiencies. It decreases human error and it maximizes profits. I told you people invest for a return, for money. So when you have companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, the list goes on and on and on, investing in industries and technology, they're doing it not because they have nothing else to do. They're doing it because they're stacking cash. Now, the problem is that for 50, 100 years, we have grown accustomed to being employed. Poor people and middle-class people, I know they need to tap the screen, Big D. They need to tap. This is where I'm telling you where the money is. So you got to tap even harder. I appreciate you, but let's bring this home. You have grown accustomed to a certain mindset, to a certain lifestyle called the middle class lifestyle. The middle class lifestyle was based upon the hope, the wish, the dream of someone else. The middle class lifestyle is not sustainable. Because we have technology, school teaches you to be a good employee. Not exactly, Linda. That is not where the money is. They taught you those things so that they can exploit your labor, exploit your talents to make a profit. You have been working for years and you have not seen the value of your efforts and what you bring to the table. That is the trap of being an employee. You must understand. I'm asking you to take a step back with me. Who benefits when you work 12 hours a day? The people at the top. You are not reaping the rewards of your efforts because you're not getting those profits. You're not getting 100% of the profits. And that is how I tell you, an employee, it is a scam. Now, what do? Well, right now, you're competing against robots. You're competing against quantum computing. You're competing against AI. Humans cannot compete with technologies that work 24/7. So what do? You don't compete. You use the same technologies that are basically bankrupting you, making you unemployable. You use those energies to stack cash. This is critical. You're trying to get a job in a time where jobs are becoming obsolete because quantum computing can think quicker and come up with outcomes better than research scientists who've been trained by some of the great minds. Are you with me? So what do? Well, I told you what people do. Companies invest. They invest in technology at the right time that brings them money. This is how you go from broke money to new money. You cannot ride an economic boom without the right time, without the technology, and without the knowledge and skill sets. Let me give you an example. Anybody who's an accountant, who's a nurse, who's a mechanic, who is a carpenter, who is a doctor, guess what you had to do? You had to invest in the knowledge and the skill sets to be able to reap the income from that role. Are you with me? Some of you get trained on your job, and that is how you're able to do that job. Employees no longer have to invest in the skill sets and the knowledge of a human being because they have a programmer who puts AI and quantum computing into a system and can do the job. Now, what do? Because you have to earn an income. You need your own business. You must have your own business to thrive in this economy. You must see your actions as taking investments at the right time. Now, the problem is that you invest in the wrong things. You put your money in the stock market. That's a rich man's game. You can't afford that. Or you put your money into assets which are not liquid. You put your money into real estate during a recession when you don't have access to cash. When you have a recession going on around you, even though it's not impacting you, you must have access to cash. That is something that they do not teach you. You must have access to cash and you must have a way to stack cash. Because when you stop spending money during a recession, you make a recession worse. Hello, dark matter. I want to repeat. When spending gets cut because people are trying to save money, you actually make the recession worse and last longer. So what do? Stack cash. The digital boom that's happening right now includes cell phones, algorithms, chips, quantum computing, automations, robotics, e-learning. E-learning. That is where I am suggesting that people take a look at. E-learning is lucrative. E-learning is beginner friendly. E-learning has easy access and e-learning is profitable. Anyone can get into e-learning. How do you stack cash? I'm telling you, Tommy. I'm telling you. Now listen. E-learning is a $1.5 billion daily industry. Because of COVID-19 and because of the innovations, the technologies that are going right now, e-learning is a very lucrative industry. Now, some of you are saying, I don't know anything. I can't create anything. You don't need to. You don't have to create anything because it's already created. Now, what do you need? You need the technology. You need the knowledge. Instead of spending money on cell phones, gaming systems, flat screen TVs, I'm asking you to pay attention really carefully now because I'm only going to be on for like 7 more minutes. You have companies like Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta. What do? They invest in technology at the right time that makes them more money. I told you the purpose of my live stream is to help you learn and identify certain behaviors and decision-making activities so that you can emulate them. What does emulate means? You do what they do. To earn money as an average everyday person, you have to find something that is risk averse and that is really profitable and that is stable. And that right now, as of today, is in the e-learning industry. The e-learning industry is projected to double by 2027. So right now it's $1.5 billion daily. $1.5 billion daily. That is Monday through Sunday. $1.5 billion is being earned every single day. It is projected to double by 2027. Now, so for some of you who are asleep at the bank, we're in 2025. Whoever's in my live who's asleep, you need to wake the hell up and listen to me. We are in 2025. By 2027, the e-learning industry is projected to double. The e-learning industry uses the web, it uses automations, and it uses AI. So when I told you stop fighting against the technology and use the technology to earn an income, we are now at that point. When you're in a recession, you still need to enjoy your lifestyle. You need to be able to earn, why is this puzzle here? You need to be able to earn an income and you need not to have to cut corners on your lifestyle. How do you not cut corners on your lifestyle? You got to stack that cash. You got to stack the cash. Now, how do you do this? Well, 2-hour work days, daily pay, and 100% profits. I'm going to repeat. There is technology and a reskilling program that come together. Just like your iPhone comes with a manual, your technology, your iPhone comes with a manual, there is an online automated system that's already built, that's cheaper than your iPhone, that comes with the skills and the teaching that will train you how to have a 2-hour workday, to get paid daily, and to have 100% profits. Now, what is 100% profits? It means you earn money, you have no expenses, and all the money goes to your bank account. Listen to me. Typically, when you have a business, you have expenses, and you do not keep all the money that you earn. With this, whatever revenue you earn, you get 100% of it because you have no expenses. Now, how do you do this? First, you need the technology. Second, you need the skill sets. You have to be reskilled. Now, this is where I told you the investment part comes in. This is where the investment part comes in. Amazon, Apple invests. Microsoft, Google invests. You need to invest in your money and your money earning ability. This is how you avoid a recession and how you get on the more money, new money side. For 100 or 300 or 600, I'm going to repeat. 100 or 300 or 600, one-time payment. One-time payment. One-time payment. You get an automated system and you get reskilled to earn money digitally online. How do you do this? The automated system works 24/7. It uses automations. It's in the e-learning industry, and it does all the business selling for you. You do not chase customers. You attract customers. You do not pay for marketing and advertising. You do not pay for inventory. You do not do drop shipping. This is not multi-level marketing. This is not direct. This is not DMing. This is not affiliate marketing. This is not network marketing. This is 100% profits by using automations in the e-learning industry. I want to be clear. This business model is very simple, very lucrative, and very beginner friendly. You can be a high school dropout. You can be a stay-at-home mom. You can be a grandma who's retired and who wants to earn more income. Call it whatever you want. But this is a real hustle. This is a real hustle. Let me tell you why. 2-hour workday. Daily pay, 100% of the money you earn goes to you. This is not a job. You do not work for me. You invest in your own automated system. You earn the income from your automated system. I want to repeat, this is not a job. You do not work for me. You are investing in your own automated system that earns money. And you will get taught how to use that automated system so that you stack cash. I told you a recession does not exist. If you have a 2-hour workday, you get paid daily and you have 100% of the profits. A recession will exist for most people, but a recession will not exist for people who are using technologies that are in an economic boom, who get you 100% profits, and who teaches you how to have a 2-hour workday. Stop going to school, taking on, I'm a ghetto with a mind and body damage. Can I still win? Dav, if you're on TikTok, I don't want to hear the bullshit, okay? I'm getting ready to get off. Real talk, Dav, I think your name is Dav. Don't come with me with this bullshit. You have managed to get a cell phone. You have managed to create a TikTok account, and you have managed to find my live stream. You don't have any mind or body damage that is in your mind. That's your mindset. If you can do this, you can do that. Real talk. If you can find your way on TikTok live and watch me, do not sit here and try to tell me you're damaged. Your mindset's damaged. You need to fix your mindset so you can get that money. Real talk. You can be a high school dropout, hi Mike, or you can be an Ivy League graduate. If you do not know how to earn money online, essentially anyone who wants to do it can do it. So I want to repeat, You want to know how to ride economic booms? You have to invest in the technology. You got to have right timing, and you have to have the skills and expertise. And that is how you follow the money. Without lack of knowledge, lack of skills, and without having the right technology, and if you're too soon or you too late, you don't earn that bank. So what do? This is what you do. You go to my profile. My website is there. Go to my profile. My website is there. Everything you need to know about this is on my website. This is simple. This is simple. A 4-year-old can do this. You can afford to do this. You want to know why? Because you're sitting with a cell phone in your hands. You spend $1,000 on a cell phone. Trust me. You can find $600 or $300 or $100 one time only to get the technology and to get the skills to earn money anywhere in the world. You need to think about what I'm saying. If you can commit to being broke, you can commit to commuting in traffic. You can commit to a side hustle that takes 30 to 50% of your money. If you can commit to debt, you can commit to student loans. You can commit to struggling financially. You can commit to investing in your prosperity. You can, because there's a payment plan. There's a payment plan, or sell your damn cell phone and come up with the money. You cannot afford not to do this. All you need is a cell phone, a tablet, or a computer or a laptop. You can work off of your cell phone. You can work off of your cell phone. You can afford, if you want to know how the rich get rich and how they stack cash, this is what they do. They look at where the money's being invested, not stock markets, money being invested in actual technology. They get in at the right time. They invest in the technology, and they earn money because they got the knowledge to do so. Every economic boom, this works the same way. Every economic boom happens the same way. The problem is that most people are not willing to shift, so you get shafted. When you shift with the money flow, you follow the money, you invest at the right time, small amounts, you win. Tech boom, real estate boom, renewable energy boom, all kind of booms happen in front of your face. But none of you know how to tap into it. So, e-learning, no gatekeepers, no regulators, no licenses, no permits. There's no one that can prevent you from doing this. You can be a doctor, you can be a nanny, you can be a gardener, you can be a driver, you can be a stay-at-home mom, you can be laid off, you can be in a homeless shelter. You can do this. If you want to change your life and you want to ride economic booms instead of skipping to the bank of broke, you can do this. It's beginner friendly. It's easy. It's beginner friendly. All you got to do, 2 hours a day, Wi-Fi, cell phone, be committed, be consistent. The money's there. Thank you for your time. I will be back again tomorrow with new stories. I hope I've illustrated to you that money does not disappear. Money moves. And when you move with the money, you're in the flow with the money. If you're sitting there in a state of stupor, you stay broke. Where do I find it? Shara, it's on my profile. Anybody who wants more information, free information, go to my profile, follow me, go to my profile, my website's there. This is very simple. Very simple. If you can work 8 hours a day for pennies and peanuts, if you can work 8 hours a day for goddamn pennies and peanuts like an elephant, you can do 2 hours a day. You can earn $900 a day, and you can get paid daily. Very simple. Stop working for peanuts. Those are for elephants. Stop hustling for scraps. Okay? That's broke money. Let's get this money. Can you say, stack that cash? Tap that cash. Stash that cash. Hope you enjoyed my live stream. Thank you for your time. I will be back again tomorrow. And as usual, do not send me any DMs telling me, question, which company owns e-learning? Trevor, wrong question, Trevor. Don't ask me such questions, Trevor. Wrong question, Trevor. It doesn't matter who owns it. The question is how much money you got in your bank account. You understand? Don't ask me questions. You're asking me the wrong questions. I'm trying to teach you how to get money. You want to know who earns it. Let me tell you who does not earn it, who does not own it. You. You're asking me who owns the e-learning company. I'm telling you, you don't own it. And the fact that you don't own it should tell you everything you need to know. Stop with the foolishness. Stop with the fucking foolishness. You don't own it. And I'm trying to teach you how to own your own. Focus on the damn money. Okay? I'm out. Have a good night. Thank you.